There's a roof design that turns rain into clean drinking water and sunlight into electricity at the same time. One system, no moving parts, no monthly bill. A single household in a moderate climate can harvest over 50 0.00 of water per year from a roof like this. That same roof, fitted with integrated solar cells, generates enough power to run the entire house and still sell surplus back to the grid. For thousands of years, civilization survived on this exact principle. Entire empires were built on the ability to catch what falls from the sky. Then in the 20th century, someone decided that collecting rain on your own property was a crime, not because it was dangerous, not because it failed, because it worked too well. A roof that gives you free water and free electricity cannot be metered, and what cannot be metered cannot be monetized. And what cannot be monetized must be made to disappear. This is the story of the most powerful survival system ever placed above your head, and why a $300 billion industry needed you to forget it existed. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to keep this knowledge alive. This is where we dig up what the outdoor industry and the utility companies buried together. To understand how we lost the self-sufficient roof, you have to go back to where civilization itself began around 6,000 years ago in the arid plains of what is now southern Jordan. A community faced a problem that should have killed them. Annual rainfall was less than 100 mm. Rivers were seasonal at best. Wells ran dry by midsummer, but they did not die. Archaeologists from the University of Reading discovered something remarkable in 2009. These Neolithic communities had built elaborate stone channels carved into hillsides that funneled every drop of rain into underground cisterns lined with natural clay. The cisterns held water for months, some held enough for an entire village to survive a full dry season. They did not wait for the river, they caught the sky. This was not a primitive trick. This was hydraulic engineering 6,000 years before anyone used that phrase. Fast forward to 800 BC. The Nabataeans, the same people who carved the legendary city of Petra out of solid rock, perfected the art of rainwater harvesting on a scale that still impresses engineers today. They built channels across hundreds of square kilometers of desert. Every surface was angled. Every slope was calculated to within fractions of a degree. They fed farms in the middle of nowhere and turned barren rock into an agricultural empire that controlled the spice trade for centuries. The Roman historian Pliny the Elder documented what he found when Roman legions arrived. These desert people had more reliable water supplies than half the towns in the Roman Empire. The Romans did not conquer and destroy, they conquered and copied. By the 1st century AD, Roman engineers had integrated rainwater collection into every major building they constructed. The impluvium, a rectangular pool built into the center of Roman homes, caught rain funneled from angled roof tiles called teglae. It was not decoration, it was infrastructure. Every Roman villa, every military outpost, every bathhouse had a system to catch, store, and filter rainwater. The technology spread across the entire empire. From Britannia to North Africa, Roman roofs were designed to harvest. When Vitruvius, the greatest architect of the ancient world, wrote his 10 books on architecture around 25 BC, he dedicated entire sections to roof design for water collection. He specified the ideal angle, the ideal material, the ideal system depth, and even the best orientation relative to prevailing winds. 2,000 years ago, the science was already settled. A properly designed roof was not just shelter, it was a water treatment plant now across the ocean. In the highlands of the Yucatan Peninsula, the ancient Maya faced a challenge that makes the Jordan Desert look mild. Millions of people, no rivers, no lakes, no aquifers they could easily reach. Seasonal monsoons followed by months of brutal drought. They survived for over 1,000 years. How? Researchers from the University of Cincinnati published findings in 2020 that revealed the full picture. The Maya built enormous plastered catchment surfaces on top of their pyramids and public buildings. specifically engineered to channel rainwater into massive underground reservoirs called Chulton. A single Chulton could hold over 30,000 L. The city of Teal at its peak had a population estimated at 60,000 people. Their entire water supply came from rooftop harvesting. Not wells, not rivers, not aqueducts, rooftops. The engineering was so precise that residue analysis showed they used zeolite and quartz sand as natural filtration layers. Clean drinking water from the roof, filtered through stone stored underground with zero energy input 1,600 years ago. And here is a detail that researchers almost missed. The plaster surfaces were treated with lime, which naturally kills bacteria on contact. The Maya had built a self-sterilizing water collection system over a millennium before Louis Pasteur discovered germ theory. Now, here is where the story splits in two directions. Because at the same exact time that the Maya were perfecting rainwater architecture, something else was happening on the other side of the world. In ancient Persia, builders discovered that polished metal plates angled toward the sun could concentrate heat with extraordinary efficiency. They used these reflective surfaces to boil water, cook food, and even forge metal. By the 1800s, a French mathematician named Ugamusho built the first solar-powered steam engine and demonstrated it to Napoleon Roman III in 1866. The concept was proven beyond doubt. Sunlight could be converted into usable energy. And for a brief window of history, these two ancient ideas, catching water from the sky and catching energy from the sun, were converging toward a single breakthrough. In 1954, Bell Laboratories created the first practical silicon solar cell. Efficiency was only 6%, but the door was open. The New York Times called it the beginning of a new era. By the 1970s, during the oil crisis, President Jimmy Carter installed 32 solar panels on the White House roof. He declared that this roof would provide both energy independence and a model for the nation, a roof that works for you, not for the power company. Those panels stayed on the White House for 6 years. Within 2 years of Ronald Reagan taking office in 1981, they were removed. The official reason was routine roof maintenance. They were never reinstalled during his entire presidency. The timing was not coincidental, but before I show you what happened next, I need to stop here. This video is just the surface. I have collected everything the utility industry does not want you to know about self-sufficient roofing, all in the complete forbidden camping vault. Rainwater harvesting blueprints that engineers tested and verified for off-grid survival. Solar integration methods that bypass the most common building code restrictions. Filtration systems you can build with materials from any hardware store for under $1.50. State-by-state legal guides showing where collection is legal, restricted, or still criminalized. Emergency water storage calculations based on your roof size and local rainfall, and much more. Over 10 guides in one place. No fluff, straight to the point. The link is in the description, but stay here. The video is just getting started. Now, let us talk about what a modern self-sufficient roof can actually do, because the numbers are staggering. The average American home has a roof area of approximately 150 square meters. In a region with moderate rainfall, say 800 mm per year, that single roof can theoretically capture 120,000 L of water annually. Even with efficiency losses from first flush diversion and filtration, a conservative estimate puts usable yield at around 75,000 to 90,000 L per year. Let me put that in perspective. The average American household uses roughly 300 L of water per day, which comes to about 110,000 L per year. That means a single roof in a moderate climate can supply over 70% of a household's total water needs for free. In wetter regions like the Pacific Northwest, where annual rainfall exceeds 1,500 mm, a roof that size captures over 200,000 L. That is nearly double what most families use in an entire year. A study published in the journal Water Research in 2019 analyzed residential rainwater harvesting systems across 12 countries. The findings were remarkable. In Australia, where rooftop harvesting has been encouraged since the millennium drought of the 2000s, homes with collection systems reduced their municipal water demand by 40 to 60%. In Germany, where the technology is even more advanced, some homes achieved complete water independence, 0 liters from the city, every single drop from the roof. Now layer solar on top of that, literally. The International Energy Agency reported in 2023 that residential rooftop solar capacity worldwide exceeded 400 gigawatt. That is 400 billion watts of power generation sitting on top of ordinary homes. Standard residential solar installation of 6 kW produces roughly 7,000 to 9,000 watt-hours per year depending on climate. The average American home consumes about 10,500 watt-hours per year. That means a properly sized rooftop solar system covers 65 to 85% of a household's electricity needs. In sunnier states like Arizona, New Mexico, or parts of Texas, solar output can exceed household consumption entirely. Your roof makes more power than you use. The surplus goes back to the grid. Your meter literally runs backwards. But here is where it gets truly interesting. Researchers at Stanford University published a paper in 2021 analyzing what they call dual harvest roofing. The concept is elegantly simple. A roof surface designed to simultaneously collect rainwater between and beneath solar panel arrays. While those same panels generate electricity above, the panels actually improve water collection. They shade the roof surface underneath, reducing evaporation losses by up to 35% on hot days, and the water improves solar performance in return. Rain naturally cleans dust and debris from panel surfaces, which otherwise reduce efficiency by 15 to 25% in dry and dusty climates. The two systems do not compete, they cooperate. Each one makes the other work better. Stanford estimated that a dual harvest roof on an average American home could save between $2,000 and $4,000 per year in combined water and electricity costs over a 25-year lifespan, which is standard for modern solar panels. That adds up to $50 to $100 in savings. The cost of a full installation is roughly $15 to $25 depending on the system and location. The math is not complicated. The roof pays for itself within 5 to 8 years. Everything after that is pure savings every single month. A study from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory confirmed these projections independently. They found that homes with combined solar and rainwater systems had the lowest total utility costs of any residential configuration tested. Lower than solar alone, lower than rainwater alone, lower than any grid-dependent alternative. The synergy is not marginal. It is transformational. If you have made it this far, you already know more about self-sufficient roofing than 99% of homeowners in this country. Subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to know what the utility industry buried. And remember, everything they hid is in the complete vault. Link in the description. Now, stay with me. The next vault is the heaviest. So if the science is proven, the economics are undeniable, and the technology exists right now today on shelves you can walk into and buy from, why is it not on every roof in the country? Why are millions of homeowners still paying utility bills for water and power that literally falls from the sky for free? Here's the part nobody talks about. The American water utility industry generates over $150 billion in annual revenue. The electricity utility industry generates another $450 billion combined. That is over $600 billion a year flowing from your monthly bills into utility company accounts. $600 billion every year. A roof that eliminates those bills does not just save you money, it erases their revenue. And they have known this for decades. In 2012, Colorado still had laws on the books making it illegal for homeowners to collect rainwater that fell on their own property. The legal argument was based on prior appropriation water rights, a doctrine from the 1008 hundreds that said all water, including rain, belonged to downstream users and the state. You read that correctly, rain falling on your roof was legally not your water. The sky could give it to you, but the state said you could not keep it. Colorado did not fully legalize residential rainwater harvesting until 2016. And even then, the law capped collection at 2 barrels, roughly 210L from a roof that could harvest 100L per year. That is a limit of 0.2% of your roof's capacity. It was not regulation, it was suppression disguised as policy. And Colorado was not alone. Utah restricted rainwater collection until 2010. Nevada had limitations until 2017. Several states still have restrictions or require permits for systems above a certain size. Oregon famously prosecuted a man named Gary Harrington in 2012 for collecting rainwater and snow melt on his own 170-acre property. He had built 3 small reservoirs on land he owned. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail and fined over $1,500 for catching rain on his own land in the 21st century. Now look at the solar side. The pattern is identical. In 2013, Arizona Public Service, the state's largest utility, proposed a surcharge on homeowners who installed rooftop solar panels. They called it a grid maintenance fee. Critics called it what it was, a punishment for energy independence. The utility spent over $3 million on a lobbying campaign that year alone. Across the country, utility companies have systematically fought net metering, the policy that lets solar homeowners sell excess power back to the grid at retail rates. In 2023, California, the most solar-friendly state in the nation, passed a policy called Net Energy Metering 3.0. It slashed the rate paid to solar homeowners for their excess electricity by approximately 75%. A homeowner who previously earned 12 cents per kilowatt hour sent back to the grid now earns roughly 4 cents. The economics of residential solar were crippled overnight. The California Solar and Storage Association reported that residential solar installations dropped by approximately 80% in the months following the policy change. 80%, let that number sink in. The largest utility in the state, Pacific Gas and Electric, had lobbied aggressively for the change. Their annual revenue exceeds $20 billion. A utility company that has been found guilty of negligence in causing some of the deadliest wildfires in California history still had enough political influence to reshape the state's energy policy in its favor. Do you see the pattern? You cannot meter rainwater. You cannot charge a monthly fee for sunlight. You cannot create a subscription model for what falls from the sky. A roof that provides both water and energy independence removes the homeowner from the revenue stream entirely permanently. And what cannot be monetized must be regulated. What cannot be regulated must be discouraged. What cannot be discouraged must be made illegal. The entire economic model of the utility industry requires customers, not citizens, not homeowners. Customers, the simplest way to maintain customers, is to make independence as difficult, as expensive, and as legally complicated as possible. Building codes that require grid connection, even when solar provides full coverage. Homeowner association rules that prohibit rainwater barrels for aesthetic reasons. Permitting processes so expensive and so slow that most people abandon the project before they start. Insurance policies that refuse coverage for off-grid water systems or charge premiums that eliminate the savings. The barriers are not accidental. They are architectural, designed by the very industries that lose revenue when you stop paying them. Now, I need to be honest with you. Not every restriction is pure corporate conspiracy. There are legitimate concerns about standing water attracting mosquitoes, about improperly stored rainwater growing harmful bacteria like Legionella, about electrical safety when solar panels feed Power into the grid during outages when line workers are making repairs. These are real issues that require real engineering solutions. But here's the critical part. Those solutions already exist. They have existed for years. First, flush diverters that discard the initial contaminated runoff cost about $20 and install in minutes. UV sterilization units that kill 99% of waterborne bacteria cost under $150. Rapid shutdown systems for solar panels that cut power instantly during emergencies have been standard since 2017. The engineering problems were solved years ago. The regulations did not keep up. And they did not keep up because the industries funding the lobbying did not want them to keep up. Here is what you can do right now. Today, this week, start with water. Calculate your roof's collection potential. Take your roof area in square meters, multiply it by your annual rainfall in millimeters, then multiply by 0.8 for realistic efficiency, accounting for evaporation and first flush losses. For a roof of 100 square meters in an area receiving 900 mm of rain, that is 72.00 L per year, enough to supply a family of 4 for over half the year. Step 1. Install a first flush diverter on your downspout. This is a simple pipe section, usually 1 to 2 liters of volume, that captures the first wave of rainfall. That initial runoff contains the most dust, pollen, bird droppings, and rooftop debris. After the diverter fills up, clean water flows directly into your storage tank. Cost is about $15 to $25. Step 2. Set up your storage. Start with a single 1.0 L tank, food-grade polyethylene, opaque, not clear to prevent algae growth. Elevate it on a platform or stand for gravity feed to your taps. Total cost for a basic tank and stand is between $150 and $300 depending on your region. Step 3. Add filtration for drinking water. A 2-stage system with a ceramic pref filter and an activated carbon block filter removes sediment, chemicals, and most pathogens. Cost is around $60 to $80. For extra safety, add a UV sterilizer for another $100. Your total system cost for clean drinking water from your roof is under $500. For solar, the entry point has never been lower in the history of the technology. A portable 400-watt solar panel kit with a charge controller and a lithium iron phosphate battery bank costs between $500 and $800. That will not power your entire home, but it runs lights, charges all your devices, powers a small refrigerator, and keeps communication equipment operational indefinitely. For camping and off-grid use, this alone is a game-changer. For a full rooftop installation, panel prices have dropped 65% in the last decade alone. The average cost per watt installed in the United States is now approximately $2.75. A 6-kilowatt system costs roughly $16,500 before incentives. Federal tax credits currently cover 30%, bringing the net cost to around $11,500. Payback period in most states is 6 to 9 years. After that, every kilowatt hour is free. Now combine the two systems. This is where the real power lies. A camper, a homesteader, or anyone building an off-grid cabin should design the roof with both functions from the very beginning. Angle the roof at 30 degrees for optimal solar exposure and efficient water runoff. Mount panels with a gap of at least 10 centimeters above the roof surface to allow airflow for cooling and water flow beneath. Install gutters along the lower edge that catch water flowing both off the panels and under them. Route that water through your first flush diverter into a covered cistern. One roof, 2 resources, 0 monthly bills, 0 dependence. A family in rural Vermont documented their entire system online. 12 solar panels in a 3.0 L rain system. They reported spending less than $40 per month on total utilities averaged over a full year, down from over $300. That is a savings of over $3,000 a year from a system that cost them under $20,000 to install. A homesteader in New Mexico posted similar results. She harvested enough water during the monsoon season to last through 6 months of drought, while her panels produced 110% of her annual electricity needs. Her utility bill for an entire year was $11. $11. These are not hypotheticals. These are real people living with real technology right now. Now, here is what I need you to understand before this vault closes. This knowledge is not new. It was never lost. It was taken. The Nabataeans knew it too 800 years ago. The Maya knew it 1,600 years ago. The Romans built their entire empire on it. Your great-grandparents had rain barrels under every downspout and understood that the sky provides. Somewhere between then and now, between your grandmother's rain barrel and your smart water meter, we were taught to forget. Taught that water comes from a pipe and costs money. Taught that electricity comes from a wire and costs more money. Taught that the roof over your head is just protection from weather, not a source of water, not a source of energy, not a source of life. But the rain did not stop falling, and the sun did not stop shining. The technology did not fail. It was regulated, restricted, lobbied against, and buried under $600 billion of annual utility revenue. But you cannot regulate the sky forever, and you cannot make people forget what the roof already knows. If this video opens something for you, subscribe and share it. Every share preserves what the industry tried to bury. Every subscription keeps this vault open for the next person who needs to remember. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside is even heavier.